This 2012 Lincoln MKX has a problem with losing its AC after about 5 or 10 minutes of run time. From what I know, it's been around the block a couple times on a couple different shops. I was running it the other day and trying to get it backed up because it's icy cold right now inside. As it runs though, the pressures, those are pretty good pressures. 30, 40 is good, but I ended up high side was down to 110, the low side was pulled into a vacuum of 22.33. There she goes. And he'll lose his AC. And the high side drops too at the same time. And that's either the TXV valve or he's got a restriction in the condenser. You got to pull the intake completely off to get to the expansion valve on this thing. And you watch it drop. It's not a low refrigerant charge either. I did evacuate and recharge it just to make sure we're not looking at something wonky. That'll eventually pull itself on into a vacuum. Really don't want to get it that hot before I have to pull the intake because I'm going to put a valve on it. I can't get to it to cool it or heat it and test it or tap it, but working its way gradually right on down into a negative. I'll pause you, we'll shut it off. I'll shut it off. I started it back up. The longer it runs, the more it pulls into a negative. Gets down to zero, it's actually going to be hitting vacuum. See the high side's dropping too because it can't pull refrigerant, so it can't build pressure here. The thing is, the compressor never kicks off. If it gets down to 10, it should kick off unless normally the expansion valve, we're calling a TXV. We're going to find out after 3 hours of hard time. Well, we're on our way. Got some engine covers off, some connections loose, evap, plug-ins, engine control module. Disconnected back there to get the hood out of the way. Got the support bracket down low. Bolt out of that. I can't see it from here, but we'll place on there, you can see. Continue to the intakes out of the way. Alright, we got the intake in the floor. Back there's our TXV valve, better known as expansion valve, in the back, where you see that silver. And that's where I've got to be. There's no way of getting there from the top or the bottom. Got to be right here with the intake out of the way. There is no substitute. 2012 Lincoln MKX. Foil moved out of the way. Give me some tools on that and get that changed out. I'm going to put this little expansion valve on. Hopefully it's right. Got it from Napa. There's the intake. 2012 Lincoln. I've got an Acadia out there. They okayed the condenser job. They're just going to leave it. Now the intake's out of the way. Smell that smell of it. Oh my goodness. Anyway. Where that foil is back there is where the expansion valve's at on this thing. That's what I'm after. And the intake had to be gone to get it. Let's get ready to rumble. I'm going to stop and eat real quick. We're back into the valve now. Here's the tedious part. Let's scratch the bolts out of it and get the lines back out of the way. Oh, now here's the new one. Looks like the pinhole's slightly opened. Let's go on this side of it. Yeah, I'll be right with you, okay? Yeah, I'll be right with you. If we look at the pinhole on this one, looks like it's up. This one's the one fresh out of the car. bead on it. Can't hold them side by side and do it. And this one is down. So is this one sticking one way or the other? See the difference in the pintles. One on the left and the one on the right, and they're both cold, so they should be positioned in the normal place. That gives us some hope, because there was no way getting back there to do any test work on this where it was at with the intake in the way. Usually you can heat or cool a TXV and change its pressures. I got to hook up one and do an AC recharge, and I'll come back over and get to work. Well, the recharge a minute ago, something she just bought. It was wishful thinking, but she's got another appointment for an electrical diagnostics. She needs more than a recharge. See that pintle's open. I'm hoping that we're on the right track here. The new one's on the right. I've wrapped it with the stuff that's around this. Can't get a good bead on that, can we? See how high up that one is. This is our new one. It's down in the lower position. That. Hopefully that means something. It's almost time for the moment of truth. We're in the vacuum process. I'll charge it up and see what happens. It's all buttoned back up in one piece. I don't think I forgot anything. Usually double check myself. Hope for the best here. I've just fired it up. Keep our fingers crossed this low side don't suck into a vacuum or get down to 10. Let it run a few minutes, I'll bring you back in on it. Well, I didn't look at the clock to see when we started. We've been sitting here running for probably 10-15 minutes. Just had a customer picking up the crossfire. He came in with a stalling and a running problem drop off this morning. This thing did fall on his face earlier before he even started to evacuate it. It started falling, if you remember right, around 10 within, shoot, 5 minutes or less. So I think we just scored. We're looking good. So it's worth all the work. I think we can call this a wrap. 45 degrees, pretty good. It fluctuates a little bit. Big 2012 Lincoln MKX. Just glad that worked out. As a lot of tedious stuff, or not to be a fix on it, but just an educated kind of guess after running and looking and watching.